Hello everyone, my name is Amey Karkare. So I suppose everyone can see me as well as hear me. My name is Amey Karkare. I am a associate professor at Department of Computer Science and Engineering at IIT Kanpur. And let me welcome you to this first course from Academy of Data Science about programming using Python. So one request to everyone, while you are not talking, please keep your microphone on mute. Okay, this will reduce the noise during the class. So before we start this lecture, I would like to say that I have prepared these slides using various websites and Microsoft Office Clipart. And the images that I have taken, I have tried to make sure that they are not from any copyrighted domain. But if you think there is some issue, please let me know and we will fix it. It is my pleasure to say that Professor Niels Nygaard, who is also one of the instructor at ACADS, is also attending the session. And before we proceed further, I will make him a presenter to tell about himself and about the course that he will teach. Okay, Professor Nygaard, over to you.
How's this?
Yes.
You got my picture?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm talking to the students. Are they in class now, or can they both see and hear us?
Yeah, they can hear you and they can see you. Yes.
Okay, super. Okay, so I'd like to welcome you to this first lecture in the first course in the Academy of Data Science, and we're really excited that you have chosen to join up this program. My name is Niels Nygaard. I'm a professor here at the University of Chicago, and I'm one of the founders of the, well, I'm also one of the founders of the Academy of Data Science, but I'm also a founder of the Financial Mathematics Master's Program here at the University of Chicago, which we started about 20 years ago. And at that time we have educated more than 2,000 students that most of them have found good jobs as quants in the financial industry. I think it's wise decision on your part to have joined this program. I think the many industries are changing right now, and they are changing because of the availability of the huge amounts of data that are being generated every day. So it's very important to know how to analyze this data and get information out of it. There's simply so much data that without real deep knowledge of what to do, it's mostly worthless. And so in this program, we will build up your ability to analyze data and to understand what kinds of information you can get out of it. And one of the things that we find really, I think, is really important in this is that that we want to teach the students so that they understand what they're doing when they analyze data. It's very tempting because of the availability of powerful computers to just take data and just throw it at a powerful machine and see what comes out of it. But if you don't know what you're doing, that can be very, very dangerous, and you may not be able to trust any of the things you get out of such a thing. So that's why we think it's important that our students, they understand exactly what they're doing. They understand how the models work, what they need to, what models can be used, what they need to satisfy, what are the assumptions underlying these models, so you don't use models that are not proper for the particular situation. Right? So that's our philosophy in this program, that we want everybody to really understand what they're doing and to be able to look at different situations and choose the right way to proceed and the right way to analyze data. And I think that with that knowledge and understanding these things, you have excellent career opportunities. It's so many businesses and so many firms are really changing their way of operating and basing it much more on data and real data, much more than just mathematical formulas and mathematical models. You have to use the data that are available, but you have to be able to use it correctly. So I'd like to welcome you, and I look forward to teaching you. I'm going to be teaching a course on probability theory, and probability theory, of course, is something that we really need to understand in order to understand the results we get out of data, because they're not exact results. We can't get a result out that says precisely such and such are going to happen, but they are probability based, and we can say with such and such a probability of this and that is going to happen, and with another probability something else is going to happen. But that's the nature of predictions. It's all a probabilistic game. So that's what the probability theory course is. It's a basic probability, and it will teach you how to understand and use probability theory. So I look forward to teaching you and see you in class. That will be starting beginning of next year. So I hope you enjoy your class and learn Python programming. Python programming is really very important. It's becoming the de facto standard for people doing data analysis. It's a language that's easy to learn. It's also very fast, because most of the things you're using are written in C++. So it's both a fast and easy language to learn and to use. So I think you'll enjoy it, and it'll definitely be very useful in your future career. So I'll hand over the podium to Ame and get started on your Python class. So thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, Professor Nygaard.
Okay.
And we also have Manish Singh, who is also a founder of ACADS. So I would like him to say a few words before we formally start our course.
Hello everyone, my name is Manish Singh, and I'm also one of the students of Professor Niels Nygaard, and now I'm a quant trader in a New York-based hedge fund. The reason we started this ACADS platform is that it's really very difficult for a working professional to learn a new subject. There are like many online platforms, but it's very hard to learn just by having a great content. So the philosophy of this platform is not only to provide you a quality course material, but give you a platform where you can learn from each other. You can learn from your peers, you can learn from discussions, you can learn by asking questions from each other and also from our professors. So the key features of ACADS platform is that we have made it highly interactive, and that's what you will realize. It's not only online lectures, but we have TA sessions as well, where you will be required to apply the concepts and implement it during these sessions. And also we have tied up with a few quant recruitment firms, global quant recruitment firms, who will be able to help you understand what's required in the market, what's in-demand skills, and also people who are looking for placement or career growth opportunities. They would be help you in that part as well. With that, I wouldn't take any more time, and I'll give it back to Amar to start the Python programming course. Thank you, Amar, and thank you, Professor Nygaard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manish. So I will now take over and show my screen. Okay, so in this course we are going to learn how to solve certain problems using computer. In particular, we are targeting data science problems, and as Professor Nygaard said that nowadays there is a huge amount of data which people have access to, and it's very easy to just make wrong assumptions or wrong approaches. So our current course will focus mainly on the fundamentals of programming using Python, and for that we are assuming that no prior exposure to programming, which means that some of you who have some exposure to languages like R or C or C++ will find it easier to learn certain concepts, but even someone who has not done any programming should be able to come to par with others in a few lectures. So I am Ameya Karkare, and my website can give you more information about myself, but just a quick information that my area of specialization is compilers and program analysis. I teach courses which are undergraduate courses related to compilers, microprocessors, and also postgraduate and PhD courses related to compiler optimizations and program analysis. I am currently visiting IIT Bombay in India, and I am teaching a program analysis course here in the current semester. So before we start, we have to understand what is a computer, and this definition has become really broad in last few years. So if we look at the technical term computer or microprocessor, we can see that nowadays the microprocessor is really everywhere. So the traditional image of a computer is a desktop where a person sits and types his or her programs or actions, but it has been expanded. Nowadays almost every mobile is like a computer. In fact, many of these mobiles are more powerful than regular desktop computers in terms of their processors and RAM. Spacecrafts as well as aircrafts have microprocessor in there, and they are used to do many important functionality like autopilot. Today's cars, in fact, as I speak, Tesla is coming up with its own cars which can auto navigate. And even simple appliances like washing machines, microwaves, they have some microprocessor in them. Apple Watch and other kinds of watches, so even watch, and finally the glass. So Google Glass or the goggles are also becoming like a computer these days. Okay, so what I mean by computer is some device which can be programmed and which can then do actions on its own. So almost all electronic gadgets today are computers, and they are everywhere, and that is why it is important to understand how to control these computers, how can you get maximum advantage from these devices. So this brings to our next question: why should you do this course? So as I said, computers are everywhere. It will be helpful if you understand how computers work or how to control them. And in particular, you want to write your own programs, and for this particular course, the target is mostly to write programs which can analyze data, but in general you would like to write programs for other day-to-day activities. Okay. So we want to understand how computers can be used to automate repetitive tasks, like reminding you to do something at a specific time. Okay. So this brings us to the process of programming. Okay. What most people think is process of programming is that given a program description, you have to start writing the solution code. However, this is a very wrong approach, especially for the newcomers. Okay, so if you just start writing code directly, more often than not, your program will be less than efficient. and it might contain bugs. Okay, so the typical process of programming should involve given a problem description, you have to start with a model of the problem. This means that you have to understand what are the constraints and what are the resources available to you and how to make best use of those resources. Then you have to come up with a logical solution. Okay, so at this point you are not really going down to a programming language level, or you are not even going down to a perfect solution which will work, but you are getting a high level idea about what components are required, how to connect them together, and how to get a high level idea of the solution. And once you have this logical solution, you are supposed to code it into the actual programming language. Okay. So as you gain experience, and that is what you see in most seasoned programmer, they seem to be directly jumping onto the coding the solution, but that's not the case. They also go through all these 3 steps, but just that these 3 steps kind of look like as if they are becoming one. Okay, so while coding one part of the solution, you can think about the next part of the logic of the solution. Okay. So to start with, I would say you follow the 3-step process, and as you gain experience, it will be natural for you to merge all these 3 steps in one. So the first step of programming is you have to define and model the problem. In real life, this is very important and very, very complicated. So for example, you can consider modeling some railway reservation system. Okay, and specifically in India, we have a system called IRCTC. If the model is not proper, the end result will be really unsatisfactory, and that is what happens. Most of the time, if there is a large number of people who are trying to do reservation, you will get service outage, or you will get some error that session has expired because you double clicked on something. Okay, so for a web designer, it's very frustrating. Or some user, it's very frustrating if you just by mistake double click on some link and then it logs you out. Okay, if such thing happens again and again, you feel frustrated and you feel like breaking down your head or the computer. Okay, so instead, if you start with the correct model, it will simplify the rest of the programming steps for you. Okay, in this course, the problem that will be given to you will be defined precisely, and they will be simple. So they are not going to be as complicated as real life scenarios, but they will be inspired from real life scenarios. So to simplify further, we will provide some model and examples to you to think about solving the problem. However, note that in real life you don't get these examples or models given to you. As a software designer, you have to create examples, and maybe as a QA engineer, you have to come up with examples which represent the correct as well as incorrect or valid or invalid scenarios. In step 2, you have to obtain a logical solution to your problem. A logical solution is considered to be a finite and a clear step-by-step procedure to solve your problem. So when we say finite, it means that the solution has to end or terminate. And when we say step by step, the solution should be at a level where anyone with very minimal knowledge of your language or your thinking process should be able to understand and execute the solution. So this is also called an algorithm, and typical algorithms are visualized using flowchart. Okay. Flowcharts used to be in fashion a few years back. Nowadays, because of, again, since the compute power is now almost free or very cheap, people have started skipping this step, but this is a very important step or very important second step in the programming process. Okay, so those who are a little older would remember boxes like this, where you have rectangles, parallelograms, ovals and so on to describe the process of the flow of your logical solution. Okay, And in real life also we see some kind of algorithms. So for example, recipe in a recipe booklet or on some website. So for example, recipe for a cake from Sanjeev Kapoor's website. Okay. Or assembly instructions for a do-it-yourself kit, the furniture from IKEA, or some toy where a kid has to start building it. Okay. And once again, it's very important that you follow these instructions if you are new to the particular job that you are doing. And if you don't, then you can mess up the final product. Okay. The third step, you have to now convert the algorithm into working code. Up to second step, computers are not involved directly. You just have certain constraints based on your environment and based on the system that is available to you, but you really don't interact with computer. The third step is where you are converting your algorithm or finite clear step-by-step solution into a working code. And this is the stage where you require a language to communicate with the computer. And in particular, you have to know the syntax and the semantics of the language, which means how a particular statement in the language is formed and what is the meaning of that sentence. So syntax means the structure of the sentence and semantics means the meaning of the sentence or individual commands in the language. Important thing to remember is if you make a wrong model or if you create an incorrect logical solution, then the program will also certainly be wrong. Okay, and this can also be thought of as the philosophy of garbage in, garbage out. If the input model or input logical solution is wrong, the output code that you are going to get from step 3 is going to be garbage, which may perform correctly for certain cases, but for certain involved cases it will give you a wrong answer. Okay, so this third step is where language is required, and this is where our language Python comes in. And we will start with the overview of programming process. But before that, I think it will be a good idea, since this is a small class, to introduce ourselves. So what I will do is, I will make all of you presenter one after the other. You can give a quick introduction about yourself. And let me also tell you that this GoToTraining software, it's a very nice software for training. It has certain features. So one of the feature is of raising your hand. So at any time during this course, in today's lecture or in future lectures or in TA sessions, if you have any question, if you want to have some clarification, or if you want to just make a comment, you can raise your hand and the instructor or the organizer will respond to by asking you to speak up. Okay, so this will be the model that we will follow, and if you have any question, please raise your hand so that I can unmute you and then you can make a comment or ask the question. Otherwise, I will start with the introduction session. All right.
Hey, Ame, I think
Yes.
Nico is here. I think we can start with Nico.
Sure.
Hey, Nico.
Yeah. So Nico is also one of the advisors in ACADS, and he will also be teaching a course in future. So I request Nico to introduce himself and give some information about his area of research and work. So let me just unmute you. Yes, Nico, you can go ahead. Probably he is not there. So should we move? So I will move to the next person. So I would request Anirudh. I am making him presenter. He can share his video and talk a little bit about himself. Anirudh?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, so my name is Anirudh Srinivasan, and I work as a IT engineer at Nutanix here in San Jose, California. And I'm interested about learning Python, and that's why I have joined this class right now. So,
Can you also tell which languages do you know already?
so I haven't as such not learned any languages, but I have played around with Python for like about 2 years now, and the reason I took this course was I wanted to learn about OOPS concepts and stuff like that. So
Okay. Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Anirudh.
thank
So,
you very much.
I will move on to Dhananjay. Dhananjay, can you speak about yourself?
Yeah, sorry, I had muted myself from my end. So this is Dhananjay.
Okay.
I've joined this course to learn more about Python programming. Given the fact that data science is a very upcoming field, getting very popular, and Python and R are two prominent languages, it would be nice to learn more about these languages and kind of understand the application in real life.
Okay. And what languages do you already know?
From a scripting perspective, I do Unix scripting pretty much, and I know a little bit of C, C++, Java.
Okay. Thank you, Dhananjay. So Dr. Nico is here, so I will ask him to present next.
My name is Nico.
Yeah, Nico, we can hear you. Can you speak a little louder?
Yeah, I'm just learning how to use the software that I installed. So
Okay.
my name is Nico. I teach at Western at the Management Science Department at the Ivy Business School. I've been teaching almost for the last 8 years. Core, first VBA, then R, and then I'm teaching Python and Excel for corporate finance. I will be teaching in the Academy of Data Science the Introduction to Data Science with R next winter, and I'm fascinated by the work that the Academy is trying to accomplish, and I think we're going to have fun in the class for those who want to join the class.
Okay, thank you, Nico. And as all of you heard that you will get some course on R with Professor Nico very soon. So I will ask now Jonathan to take over and talk about himself. So
Hi guys, my name is Jonathan. I'm a recent graduate from Western University, the Ivy Business School, and I'm currently living in Toronto, Canada. I'm currently employed at Citibank, and I work as an analyst in their ICG department on the banking side, and got into programming out of school. Started in VBA, moved on to R programming language, and now looking forward to getting into Python.
okay. Thank you, Jonathan. And I will request Miguel to be the presenter. Miguel, your voice is not very clear. Can you speak a bit louder?
I think there's a issue with his microphone. I think we can move on to Mohit.
Yeah, so we'll move on to next one, Mohit. So Mohit, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, hi guys. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Okay, hi. My name is Mohit Singh, and I've been working in the capital market space for the last 10 years, primarily on trading systems implementations, and basically a consultant. I spent a lot of years at Capco, EDM, Ernst & Young. In terms of technology, I've had decent exposure to C, SQL, Core, Java. I mean, not so much Java. Java was more academic, but yeah, on and off, I've had to query databases, so that's where my exposure to SQL comes. The primary reason for me to join this initiative is, of course, to get a strong hold on Python and eventually be able to, diverge into the career side of big data analytics and predictive analytics. So I'm hoping this course is going to set that path for me, and I'm trying to make the most of this.
Okay. Thank you, Mohit.
Yep. Thank you.
So we'll now move on to Natasha. Natasha, can you talk about yourself?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Natasha Sodi. I'm a management consultant based out of Washington, D.C. I have an MBA from Wharton School and an engineering background. So in terms of my past languages, I have worked on C, assembly, MSPs, DSP, programming. And as with everybody else, I'm very interested in learning Python and excited to be here.
Okay. Thank you, Natasha. So we have Rohit Pandey next. So Rohit, please introduce yourself. Rohit? Okay, I think Rohit might be offline.
I think he's having problem unmuting himself, I believe. Okay, I
Rohit,
think we can move on to,
okay, so Rohit, can you unmute yourself? Or are you facing just one? Let me see. Yeah. From organizer side, I have unmuted everyone. So probably Rohit is having some issue with his microphone. We'll move on to next person, and then we'll come back at the end for those who I have missed. So let me ask Ruchika to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, this is Ruchika. Can you hear me?
yes.
Yes, we can.
Hi. I was actually working in QA as a QA automation engineer. I have 5 years of experience working in companies like Wells Fargo and Apple. So the programming language I know is Java. And in my previous project at Apple, I worked as an automation engineer, and I learned some Python scripting during my project. I am not working since past 2 years. I'm on a break for personal reasons, and so I joined this class so that I can brush up my Python skills. I mean, I really want to improve and want more information on Python programming.
Okay, thank you. So I would request
Next is
Sean Harris. Sean, so please introduce yourself. Hi.
Hi guys, I'm Sean. I'm out of Toronto. I just graduated from the Ivy Business School at Western, I got into programming actually taking Nico's course, which was an intro to data science, and it was an R-based course, so I do have a background in R, and I'd like to learn Python and be able to apply it in the workplace as well. I work at a company called Intellityx, which is a startup out of Toronto.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. I request Tejas to take over now and introduce himself.
Hi guys, can you see my screen? Sorry, hear me? Yeah, I can.
We can hear you, yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Hi guys, my name is Tejas Patel. I work as a database developer at JP Morgan in New York. I'm based out of Stanford, and I do have prior experience in Perl, bit of Java, and MATLAB as well. I'm really looking forward to learning Python as it's becoming the de facto standard of the industry, and my work often involves working with like huge data sets. So I want to see how Python can be used to analyze it at a much in a more efficient way compared to what I'm using right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tejas. So, Timothy, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, am I good?
Yes, we can hear
Hello?
you.
Oh, okay, good. I'm Timothy Art. I work as data science, doing a lot of visualization and dashboards. I know R and JavaScript, as well as a little bit of Java. I'm wanting to add Python to, I guess, my skill set. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Timothy. And next one is Vishal. So Vishal, can you talk about yourself? This is Vishal Nashine. So there are two Vishals. I'm sorry. So Vishal Nashine.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Vishal Nashine. I'm perhaps the odd man out here. I am a senior research investigator at Bristol Myers Squibb. I work on anti-cancer drug development. I have used some level of R and have done some statistical modeling, used some statistical modeling tools in my work. But I'm quite excited to learn about Python, as someone mentioned, right? It's growing as a tool to do a lot many things, and especially in data science. So I'm excited to learn and use some of these tools in my scope of work.
Okay. Thank you, Vishal. So yeah, so this is a really different field than I have ever worked or talked to people about. So next one is Vishal Singh. So Vishal Singh, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
This is Vishal here. I'm currently working as a Java developer for AT&T client at Atlanta location. Previously, I have worked with like Apple and Pfizer. So currently, I'm having Java J2E experience, and I look forward to learn Python through this course.
Okay, so thank you, Vishal. So did I miss out anyone? So only I think Rohit could not speak, but I will try once more. If he cannot, then I will request Rohit to just send a couple of lines on chat about himself. So Rohit, can you talk about yourself?
Hi guys, can you hear me this time now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry about the earlier mishap. There was some problem with the audio. Regarding, I guess, for myself, I work as a program manager in a consulting firm in New York. With regards to programming language exposure and experience, I have worked in C and C++ for the first few years of my professional career. With regards to, I guess, the work as such, I believe data analysis is something which is part and parcel of every industry vertical or any business entity which is around the world. And automation certainly is something as an exercise, as an initiative, which every organization tries to do in the most especially analyzing large volume of data and how it can be used for today's any kind of business or strategy decisions which are made around them. I think it's very important to keep in touch with what's going on in terms of technology. So it's a curiosity factor which got me interested into this, and I haven't done any programming in a very, very long time, but certainly would be interested in learning something new which can help me in doing better way the things have been doing so far.
Okay, so I guess I have covered everyone now. If I missed anyone, please send a chat message. Okay, and then I will make you a presenter for some time. Today's lecture, we are more into exploring different features of GoToTraining rather than going deep into Python. So yeah, we might even skip some of the slides or stop a little early because it's already 6:45 in India, and yeah, so it's already 45 minutes into the session, and I don't want to disturb your schedule. So we'll have a 1 hour class, so there is about 16 more minutes remaining. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of our class. So if everyone is okay, we can go ahead with the lecture for another for 15 extra minutes. Okay, if you have something else scheduled immediately after this, please let me know. And in any case, we are going to make these recordings available to you after the session. So please send a chat message if you have something urgent, and it will be really not possible for you to stay for 15 more minutes. Okay, so welcome all. So after talking to you, I could see that the audience here covers nearly all popular languages, including assembly and databases, Perl, MATLAB, C, C++. So it will be a challenge to keep all of you engaged in the course, but we will try our best, and we will make this session, all the lectures as well as TA sessions, very, very interactive. And one way to keep you engaged is giving quizzes at regular interval. So let's have our first quiz, and this is another feature of GoToTraining software that I can share a quiz with you which you have to attempt. And the quizzes will typically be based on the material which we cover in previous few slides. So this is a quiz based on whatever we covered till now. And we'll have about 4 to 5 minutes to attempt the quiz. So everyone should be seeing a question on their screen. Please attempt this. So these quizzes are not graded, but they are to make sure that you have understood the previous concept well, and it also gives me idea about what area should I focus more on. So we have, so I will be closing the quiz in about 10 seconds now. I suppose everyone must have answered it. All right. So you can see the quiz and correct answer on your screen now. Okay, so the question is, which of the following tasks cannot be naturally described as a recipe or an algorithm? And the correct answer is jump on a bed. So if it is not clear, I would ask you to just think about describing the process of jumping on a bed to someone. Okay, and you will see that you just get stuck. It's not very natural to describe the process of jumping. Okay, in contrast, if you have to describe how to make a cup of coffee, I think that's easy. For those who have kids at home will know that. They might have explained how to make a cup of tea or coffee or juice to them. Similarly, finding the largest prime number smaller than 10 to the power 5. This is finding prime numbers. It's a well-known problem in mathematics as well as computer science, and there are many well-known algorithms for it. Okay, and the particular problem of finding the largest prime number smaller than 10 to the power 5 can be easily written in terms of those algorithm as well as certain loops. The other problem of lining up 10 persons, once again those who have some programming background will know that this is a standard problem of sorting some numbers. In fact, those who do not have programming background will also know if they play some card game or if they have tried to organize some meeting or some class in the school. Okay, so if you have any questions, please ask it on chat window or raise your hand. So all right, so we will move on to the next slide. The programming cycle specifically for Python. So since most of you have done some programming in either C-like language or a scripting language like R or Perl, you will know about the process of programming. Okay, so we'll just reiterate it for Python. So for a Python program, typically you start with writing your program or editing it within some tool like Notepad or maybe a good editor like Vim or Emacs, or in any other environment like we'll see Spider IDE. Once you have written the program and you are satisfied with it, you run the program with certain inputs, some test input. After running, you either get a result which is okay, but most of the cases the first run may not be okay, so you have to go back and fix your program. So once again you are back into writing or editing part of the cycle. So you have to edit it, fix the problems that you faced, run it again with the same input or a different input, and you continue this till you get an okay with the first test. Then you see whether you have more test cases. If yes, then you repeat the process of running the program, fixing it if there were some issues, and if there were no issues, then running it with more input. Once you have exhausted all your input, at this point you can say that okay, you are done, your programming part or programming job is over. Okay, note that this is with respect to the inputs that you have. In general, there can be other unseen inputs or unseen scenarios that you have not tackled yet, and there might be more bugs which will be discovered later when someone else uses your program. But as far as current set of inputs is concerned, you are done with the programming. Okay. So to iterate, you write your program or edit it first, then you run your program on an input, and this is where Python is different from languages like C, C++ and Java, and it is similar to a language like Perl or MATLAB or R, where you directly run your code on an input instead of going through a separate step called compilation. Okay, in C, C++ or Java, a compilation step will convert your program from English-like text to a language called machine language, which is a binary which computers can understand. Okay. The third step after running on the input is making sure that output is correct. If it is not, you have to go back to step 1, that is edit step. And if the output is correct, then you repeat step 2 onwards for any other input. So this is the typical programming cycle for Python. In this course, we recommend that instead of using an editor like Notepad or Vim, you use Spider, which is an integrated development environment, or IDE in short. Okay, so what is an IDE? So IDE typically consists of several useful tools. Spider consists of an editor where you can type in your program, a Python shell where you can run your program or interact with Python interpreter. Spider uses an interpreter called IPython. And finally, it has a debugger or object inspector. So this debugger is useful for figuring out bugs in your program. So Spider is recommended because not only it allows you to have a single environment to do all this stuff, it also helps you in figuring out mistakes in your code. It also helps you write correct code because it will show you keywords in different fonts or colors, as well as it will help in indenting your code. So remember, Python is different from many other languages in the sense that the code meaning changes by changing the spaces in the code. Okay, we will see that when we write program. So in case of Python, the indentation or the alignment of code is very, very important, and that is why it is preferable to use an editor which understands Python. So this is a typical view of Spider IDE. You can see that it is divided into 3 parts. The part on the left, or the biggest portion, is the editor. The part on right bottom is the Python shell or the command line interpreter, command line interface to the interpreter. And the part on right top is the debugger or inspector. We will not use debugger or inspector for first half of the course when the programs are simple and it's easy to fix them just by inspecting them. Okay, so the TA session will have more details on how to run Spider, how to program in it, and at the same time we encourage you to download Spider, install it on your own so that you can come up with your issues during the TA session this Saturday. Okay. So I can see Ruchika has a question. Ruchika, can you
yes, Amit.
Yes.
Yeah, so in the previous slide, you showed us that in Python we don't compile the files, right? There is no compilation, unlike Java, C++, there is no compilation process. So yeah, so when I was working on Python, I realized that because of the omission of the compilation process, the error in the code comes up while execution. So while like in Java, when we compile, if there is any error in the code, you will get it right away. When the file will not compile, right? So I was just wondering why they omit such an important step in Python.
Okay, so this is a very, very good question, and this is one of the question which kind of tells us the importance of compilers or compilation step. So as you said, yeah, which is very important, that when we are using an interpreted language, the error comes during running the program, which means that some of the steps have already executed, even though program has some bugs or it has an error. Okay. In contrast, C, C++, Java will not allow you to run a program which has certain obvious errors. Even there are certain errors which can be caught only at runtime. Okay. So, but yes, languages which are compiled, they are much safer because they can catch many different kind of errors at compilation step itself. Now the reason why compilation is problematic is we will see very soon that Python-like languages make it very easy to start programming. Okay, you don't have to worry about a lot of syntax before you can write a first useful program. So the learning curve for interpreted languages is much more easier or much less steeper than compiled languages. So if you have to write a simple hello world program in C, you have to follow certain practices or follow certain rules like declaring a main function, making sure you are using certain libraries and then calling it. In contrast, in Python you can just type in whatever you want and you can execute it. Okay, so it's very fast to prototype your program in a language like Python. Secondly, when you are not doing certain critical job, time is not a crucial thing. Okay, in which case your program can run slightly slower, but at the same time you will get error messages which pinpoint the exact line where the error is occurring. Many times in C, C++ or Java, because compiler is looking at complete program, it can give you confusing error messages. In case of Python, you get correct error message at exactly the line that you are running. Okay, so that is also a use of using an interpreted language. Third thing is, with advancement in technology, okay, it is possible to have a Python compiler, and on the other hand have a compiler which compiles things on the fly. So the advantage that these compiled languages had, the advantage of speed, it's no longer as much as it was few years back. So even Python programs can run very fast because of technologies like just-in-time compilation. Okay, and also there are certain people who have developed compilers for Python language. So if speed is important, if it is important that you figure out as many errors as possible before running the program, you can use these alternate compilers for Python. But what I want to say is the classic Python, when you say that I'm using a classical Python environment, then the language is interpreted and it runs one statement at a time. So thank you for asking this question. So if anyone else has any comments to make, I am unmuting all. You can do this. Okay. Okay. All right. So now we will see some of the reason why Python is so popular, why it is so fast. So suppose I want to print a message and I want to welcome you all to ACADS. I just have to do what I want to do. I just say print welcome to ACADS. I have done it in 2 lines because I want to print this message in 2 lines. Okay, so let me just show the output of such a program. But before that, just continue with our discussion on IDE. So on left hand side we have editor, on right hand side we have debugger on the top and IPython shell on the bottom, and on top you have a toolbar to execute Python programs. Now this toolbar is very similar to any other tool that you use, so you can very easily see what all it can do. It can open a file, it can run a program, and so on. Okay, so in the editor I have written a very simple Python program to welcome you all to ACADS. When I run this program, I will get the same message. The editor also shows the name of the file in which you are storing this program. So in this case I have named my file as 01 hello. So 01 just tells me that this is the first program that I am presenting, but you can give it any name which is supported by your operating system. Okay, so Python generally does not put any restriction on the name of the file. However, the preferred extension for a Python program is py, .py. So this helps in letting other tools as well as other peoples know that the program in this file is a Python program. Okay, even though many of the Python interpreters can use programs which do not have extension py, it is possible. It's always preferable to use an extension .py. This is the user program we talked about. So on first line it says print welcome, and on second line it says welcome to ACADS. To run the program, I can either use F5 or I can run it from the run menu and select the run option. On running this program, I get some output in the IPython shell. So I will just zoom it out. So this is the IPython shell. You can see that it tells me which file it is running, what is the working directory. So this information is useful in case you are getting some results which are unexpected. And at the same time, it has done the job by printing welcome to ACADS. Okay. So now try to write same program in C, C++ or Java. It will involve many things to set up the compilation steps. So that's why I said interpreted languages are easier to learn because you don't have to worry about a lot of syntax and semantics. Okay. So this is the Python shell. Again, I'm just zooming on the part which is relevant to us. So as we saw in the earlier screen, you get a prompt which says in followed by some number which tells us how many commands you have already run, and followed by the command that you want to type. In this case, system itself has typed run file for us, but in general, you can type your own command. So Python shell is interactive. It allows you to write commands as you go. You need not type your command in a file just to run it. Okay. So for simple things, you can do it on command line. So for example, I can say on the shell itself, what is 3 plus 5? The moment I press enter, I get a result 8. I can ask, is 3 greater than 5? The moment I press enter, I get it's false, and so on. I can even use Python functions like print. Instead of inside editor, I can directly use them on the command line or the Python shell, and it will print 3 plus 5, 8. Okay, so this way you can see that simple commands can be directly run on shell itself rather than waiting to type them in an editor, saving it and then running it. So as I said, in1, in2, these are Python shell prompt. This tells you that Python interpreter is waiting for your command. User command are typed in front of Python shell, and once you press enter, you get the output. And this is where we have our quick quiz 2. If you have any question, please raise your hand before I start the quiz. All right, so let's move on to the second quiz. For this quiz, you have more than one question, so make sure you press next and move on to the next screen. So I will close the test in about 15 seconds now. All right. So here are the results for this test. So as you can see, as we talked a couple of slides back, a typical Python IDE consists of a debugger and object explorer or object inspector. It consists of Python shell and editor. Unfortunately, you have to bring your own laptop or desktop to run Python IDE, and also no matter how much we like it, it's not going to give us a coffee or tea. Okay. The preferable extension for a Python file is py. We discussed this earlier. So most of you know that CPP is a typical extension for C++ file. PL is typical extension for Perl files. And during discussion I told you that there are certain tools, or there is something called just-in-time compilation of Python files. So for these kind of files we have PYC extension, which tells us that the content of the file are Python compiled or the Python bytecode. And Python shell does allow interaction, as we saw in previous slide. Okay. So when you are interacting with Python program, till now we saw that Python program can communicate its result to the user. Either you type some computation on the shell and it will show you the result, or you can use print to display your desired values. However, any useful program has to interact back with user. It requires user information as well. So for example, a travel reservation system requires your name and age to make the booking. Python has a function called input to read user input as a string. Okay. So the input function, it takes one argument. This argument is also a string. We will discuss what a string in Python is in details later, but I will drive this through an example. So the argument is printed to the user as a prompt. So you can ask for name, age, or whatever you want user to get so that he can respond. Okay. The user types his or her input as a string as well, and that is returned to the program as string. Okay. So we will look at the details of how to get this input and process it later, but let's have a very simple example. I can say in my program or on command line directly. So this is a function which takes an input and it prompts the user. It asks the question, how old are you? The result of this is stored in something called age. Okay. So whenever I run this program, the moment I press enter, I will get a prompt. It will ask me how old are you, and I can hide my age. I can give some wrong answer also. So 35 is not my real age, but just I'm saying that. So if I give 35, then I can use this value age in the rest of program. So I can say, or in this case the program is saying you are age years old. So whatever input I gave earlier, it will be printed back on the shell. Okay, so this program says you are 35 years old. The important thing to note is I can use Python built-in function type to check the type of variable age, and it confirms what I said earlier. The type of age is a string. Okay, so even though it looks like a number 35, it really is a string, and we will come to this distinction later in the course in next class probably. Okay, so any questions? If not, we will have another quiz before we end this session for today. So I'll stop in about 10 seconds. All right. So here are the results. Looks like someone is trying to check wrong answers as well. So Python program uses print function to print value back to the user. It cannot directly access printer. And input function always reads user input as a string. So I think this was one of the easiest quiz. And we are nearly out of time. So at this point, I would like to stop today's lecture. We would like your feedback now. If you have something to say, please raise your hand. And after this session is over, you will get a poll to give your feedback. And the same feedback will be sent over email to you. The same feedback link will be sent over email to you. So if you have time, please fill this feedback now, or you can do it later over email. Okay. So if there is no question, then we will stop in about 1 minute. So I have unmuted everyone. Those who want to speak can unmute themselves and speak.
Hey, this is Mohit.
Hello,
Mohit. General question. I don't know if you discussed this earlier, but Python generally has, like, from my understanding, what I've read on the web, has a lot of use in different areas and industries. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I have understood, depending on the area in which you want to build your career or take it up, there are different things in Python that you might need to focus on. For example, if it's more data visualization or harnessing the data, then there are certain areas of Python in which you need to spend more time, versus if you're using Python for single interfacing and web level programming, then there are different areas of Python that you need to focus on. So is that how it works, the learning curve in Python, or you just go along with it as a language in its entirety and try and grab as much as you can?
Okay. So the idea here is Python as a language has certain features. Okay. Now these features are common for everyone. Everyone has to learn it. So these features typically include the data structures like list, sets, dictionary, and other things. Okay. It will include ability to call functions and recursion. So I'm using certain jargons. If it is not clear, please, I apologize for that. But we will be covering these things in the due course. But because to answer Manish's question, it is necessary to talk about it. So there is a minimal thing called Python language, which has this feature. Okay. However, when you say that different fields or different areas require different parts of Python, that is more about Python libraries. Okay. So what happens, some people found that certain functions occur every day in a data scientist job. Okay. Some other people saw that, okay, these are the mathematical functions which are very useful for mathematicians. Then there are other people who saw there are some matrix related operations which are very useful for people who deal with matrices, maybe weather people and linear algebra people. So people have come up with these libraries, and now you can import the library depending on your area of interest or your area of specialization or whatever your job is. Okay, and then use those functions. So as long as you understand the base language well, switching from one library to other is going to be a breeze. Okay, you just have to know what this library provides, and using those functions will not be very difficult. Okay, so the thing is, if you don't know how to write a function or how to call a function, you won't be able to succeed in any of in calling any of these libraries. But on the other hand, if you know the basic Python well, then you will be able to, with the help of certain reference material, web pages, you will be able to use any of these libraries without any issues. Okay. Now,
I'll make one
Python,
more comment.
Yes, sir. Yes, please go ahead.
The way the course is structured is the lectures will cover the fundamentals of Python as Amey spoke about, and the TA sessions are more geared towards data science, where you'll be using data science specific libraries like NumPy, Scikit, and Pandas, and there'll be assignments and tutorials and group projects during TA sessions, which will be more focused towards the data science. But I mean, Nico, if Nico is around, he can also speak a little bit about what kind of libraries he uses for Python, because he does mostly a lot of data science and financial stuff with Python. I think it doesn't seem to be attentive, but we can have Nico will also be presenting. Will be giving a guest lecture sometimes during the course, and he can talk about where he will show what kind of things you can do in data science using Python. Nico, if you're around, you can speak a few things about that.
I'm here.
Yeah, please go.
Yeah. So basically in Python for scientific computing, you can use, like they said before, NumPy, Panda, SciPy. For machine learning purposes, we can use sklearn, PyMC, and then for visualization, we can use Bulkhead or Matplotlib. I'm going to try the guest lecture to cover some of them.
So Mohit has some question. He has raised his hand.
Yeah, I think you covered it as well, Amay, and that's the question I had actually asked us now. So I'm good.
Okay, so just to summarize what Manish said, there are libraries which are specific to specific tasks. In the TA sessions, you will learn more about the libraries which are useful for data sciences. But in the lectures, we will teach about how to create these libraries. So if you have to develop your own library, then you need to know Python fundamentals well. Okay, so in that sense, the lectures will enable you to do that. Okay, so there are no more questions. So we'll stop this session for today. Please provide your feedback. It will help us in having these sessions better. So thank you all for attending and have a nice day.
Thanks, Amay. Thanks.
Thank you, Amay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Amay.
Thank you.